Well, hello everyone, and welcome to our webinar on Bridging the Resource Gap, leveraging external production teams to accelerate productivity. Thank you all for taking some time out today. I know everyone's super busy and just one more web meeting, like we need that. But we have a lot lined up for you today, and we hope it'll be informative for you. And we want it to be interactive, so please feel free to throw questions up or throw a chat out. And we'd like to have this as interactive as we can. We really enjoy the dialogue with our clients and anyone on the line for that matter, and really seeing what's out there. You know, we deal with a lot of clients every day, and it's super fun and different every single time. You know, everybody has a different way of doing things. They all have different needs, and hopefully we'll hit on some that you all have today. So without further ado, we'll get going here. And just real quick, we'll go through some intros of our team here, talk a little bit about USCAD, who we are, what we do, go over some of the main services that we provide specifically for our architectural engineer clients, and specifically around BIM production, of course. And then we'll get into some sample deliverables and talk some stories. So we always like to do that, talk about jobs that we've done, that we've seen, that we've been involved with. And we'll go from there and then hopefully have some question and answer. So with us today, we've got Nick Miller. Nick has been providing services and oversight to the AEC industry for many years. I think since 2008 or so, Nick?
Yep, right around then.
And he's our Director of BIM Services. And in his prior position, he was National Director of Professional Services, where he oversaw all things related to professional services in the AEC industry. And he really works hand in hand with our clients to help really understand what it is that is needed and their process, and then help scope and deliver services accordingly. We've also got Bryan Novotny. We're honored to have him join us here today. Bryan's been, gosh, I think if I remember correctly, since 2002 in the AEC engineering space. Yeah, he looks a lot. He started when he was 12. And he's worked in manufacturing, architectural, and engineering firms ever since. Well, let's see, most recently, you were at a large international architectural firm where you were the BIM manager, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. I was there 4.5 years, and got to represent a little over 200 projects in that 4.5 years, and they varied in every building vertical you could imagine, from a hotel to a casino to a theme park. And as Darren alluded to, I think I'm a little bit older than I look. I've been around a little bit longer than you'd think.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Bryan. Yeah, so Bryan is one of our solutions consultants and really helps provide scoping, understanding of client needs, and consulting, and then implementation of various products and services that we offer as well. So, and then myself, I'm Darren Boihem, Vice President here at USCAD, and kind of oversee our BIM production efforts. Yeah, I without the beard, I look a little younger, but yeah, I've been, gosh, helping with BIM production probably 10, 15 years now, and it's been really exciting to see the change over those years and where we were. I remember back when I started, people didn't really know how to spell BIM, and they would call up and, I need a BIM for this project, and that was a lot of fun. So we've come a long way since then, and hopefully we can share some of that with you all today. So USCAD, you know, I like to think of ourselves as really a technology consultant in the AEC industry. You know, we really seek to understand what our clients are doing as our primary objective. Obviously, that's so important. We do a lot of things and we offer a lot of things, but it's so important to be able to understand exactly what our clients are needing and go from there. So you got to seek first to understand. We've been around since '99. We've got about 16 locations now. And yeah, I don't know why Hawaii is at the very bottom. It should be kind of over there to the left, but so we've got about 120 employees now. We've been providing CAD and BIM production services really since 2007, and that was after an acquisition of actually partner in Hawaii that was Pacific CAD, and we joined forces with them, and that really launched us into the BIM production. We'll talk a little bit about that in a sec. So we've got 3 dedicated BIM production teams. Our original team in Hawaii, we've got a team in Salt Lake City, and then a production partner in Argentina, upwards of about 180 people now. And again, we'll talk a little more in more detail about that in a sec. We are one of the largest Autodesk value-added resellers in the United States, and the largest Bluebeam value-added reseller by, gosh, I think a factor of 2 or 3 now. So that's really been core to who we are and what we do. But again, we really seek to partner along with our clients and understand what they do, so we can not only provide them the software and the tools that they need, but help them implement those tools. And then, as we're going to talk about today, really help our clients do their job when we need to. You know, and that right now in this market, it's so hard to find people. We have a lot of clients that are really struggling, and some even turning work down. So we really obviously want to prevent that at all costs, and we'll talk about a little bit about how we do that. So here's the map I was referring to, where Hawaii is way down below Texas. So we could have moved that over to the left, but it's all good. So, you know, these are just where we have employees and locations, but you know, we really don't have any boundaries, at least within North America. On the software side, we've done BIM production work all over the world, really. So we obviously are not bound by these areas. This is just where we have physical people and offices at. Okay, so you know, why USCAD? Again, I talked about really helping our clients with their needs and understanding what those needs are. Again, all the way from software acquisition, full circle. So I like to look at it as a full circle solution, where we're really on the front end with that acquisition of products and services, all the way through, like I said, implementation, helping with standards or templates or whatever it might be. We have a lot of folks that are still moving from CAD to Revit or CAD to BIM. And so we do a lot of work with content creation and content management, and helping really bridge that gap from 2D to 3D, which is often so hard to overcome when you've been working in that CAD space for so long. And Bryan, I know that's been really a big part of your responsibility in the past. I don't know if you can touch on that a little bit.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So we're definitely seeing, you know, a lot of our clients making that transition from a 2D system, from just looking at 2D plans and sets, into the more interactive 3D space. And call it what you will, we still see a lot of clients that are still trying to spell BIM. You know, and it's
No,
a topic
nobody on the
we've
line
been
here, of
talking
course.
about. What was that?
I said nobody on the line here, of course.
Yeah, of course, right? I guess that's why we're here, though. So yeah, you know, one of the best things we can do to best serve your interests and your needs is getting you out of that, you know, kind of 2D mentality. Work with us. We've got a great system in place where we can help you develop a plan and allow you to, you know, show your owner, show your teams that developed streamlined workflow where we can really help to transition, you know, that old school methodology into the new school, and keeping everybody up to date and allowing you or assisting you in meeting your, you know, the timelines are killing us these days. Budgets are going down. We can provide the solutions to, you know, give you that streamlined workflow.
Yeah, and we find a lot of teams that maybe aren't ready to make the jump, and we can just fill the gap for you and say, hey, we'll perform the 3D aspects of your project. You guys stay in 2D. We'll give you what you need in 2D from the 3D output, and kind of give them the best of both worlds until they're ready to make that jump.
Yeah, great points, guys, and exactly, that's really important to understand, that we do have a lot of clients that want to stay with the processes that they're used to, and that's okay. You know, that, however, that doesn't have to prevent you from taking on other work, BIM work, and we can help bridge that gap. Exactly. Yeah, and again, our tagline is achieve more, right? And that's really what we're talking about. We really want our clients to do more. We want you to achieve more. We want you to be more successful. And however we can align with you, that's our mission in life, is to really do that. And again, I keep stressing the fact that we really start with trying to understand what it is that we need to help you with, right? Or we potentially could help you with. And we do that in a multitude of ways, but one is really what we call a discovery, where we will literally, drop in remotely or in person, we're doing both still, and sit alongside you and see what you're doing. And this is a service that we provide at no charge, so we can really understand the process and see how we might be able to help or provide suggestions for that. And again, don't forget, if you all have any questions or comments, just click on, you can either go to the questions tab there in your GoToWebinar, or into the chat, and we'll try to monitor that best we can. Some of our primary business lines and partners here, as I mentioned before, Autodesk and is really one of our primary solutions, in Bluebeam as well. We do a lot of other things. I won't get into too much detail, but they all revolve around the AEC industry and solutions therein. Obviously, laser scanning is a big part of what we do, and we'll get into detail on a few of these things, namely BIM production, scan to BIM, and visualization, and we'll talk a little bit about that as well. So specifically around BIM, these are just some of our overall services that we provide, and in a couple slides I'll break it down specifically to the architectural engineering audience, and then how we go about helping with those things. So again, as we mentioned, BIM Consulting, understanding what BIM is, and as you all know, it's different for everybody. There is no one size fits all. Yeah, we talk about standards and all that, and there's a good framework for that, but it's really dependent upon your specific needs. And that could even vary not only from company to company, but project to project. We have clients that have just an area of interest of a project. And so, for instance, the job is not BIM. It's not a BIM job. It's not going to be, clash detected, and it's not going to be coordinated via BIM, but there might be an area of that project that is very condensed, a boiler room or a mechanical room or whatever it might be, where it could have potential issues. And so we can model and coordinate that one area. So again, it really is dependent upon the needs of the client, and not necessarily, oh, we're going to BIM this entire job.
Yeah, and in that regard, Darren, real quick, we're working with a client today where they've got multiple departments, and they want their healthcare and their retail sectors to be producing content that looks and feels the same, and that's not the case today. So that's part of our consulting process, is kind of working with different departments within an organization, kind of figuring out where there's common grounds and coming to some consensus and standards related to how they operate within those different divisions in the organization.
Yeah, good, absolutely. So, well, I'll touch on augmentation. You hear about staff augmentation a lot, and what does that really mean? Well, again, it can mean whatever you need it to mean. We can literally drop people into your office physically. Haven't done that so much in light of what's happening now. A lot of times it's virtual, and we can dedicate people a certain number of hours, full-time, half part-time, certain number of hours per week, where that person is completely dedicated. Or we can work, of course, on a project, and that could be time and material, it could be a lump sum fee, whatever is mutually agreeable. But so staff and team augmentation, again, it's going to depend on what the needs are. But oftentimes we have clients that call us, and they sometimes don't know where to start. They just need help. And so my answer to this is that, okay, if we could give you 1, 2, 3, 5 people, and we've had teams up to 30, 40 working on for specific clients, dedicated to those clients. So if I could give you 1, 2, 3 people to help you with that, what would you have them do? And go from there. So, again, it really is going to depend on the needs that you have right now and perhaps in the future.
I don't think we've talked to anybody who didn't have a bunch of kind of non-important action items sitting on the back burner there that they didn't need done at some point in time, right? I think everybody's got some of those items sitting back there like, man, it would be great if. That's where that really, I think, tends to help as well.
I could use a couple people myself.
Yeah, and I think this is such a big topic for discussion here, and it touches on several key areas, right? We're seeing in the industry right now a lack of resources. You know, finding a BIM manager is extremely difficult right now. Everyone's being absorbed somewhere. So something that we're doing recently is, as Darren alluded to, we're putting people in that position. So we've got people on staff that you can reach out to, you can solicit for help, you can have our team members sit next to you and really, you know, start to look at and talk about what you're doing from a BIM perspective in your firm. You know, how are you keeping your models healthy? How are you, you know, sending that message around to the teams? How are you allocating the time for that? That's something that we can really help out on. And the next key thing to that is, you know, think of something like the help desk, you know, the support, the easy, you know, the tickets. Hey, I need help with a view, it's not showing correctly. Hey, my work sets, there's something going on here. So if you look at it from a help desk perspective, we also have the resources to be a right-hand man in that position where we can actually help you out. I know all the BIM managers everywhere today are already so overworked and they don't have enough time to get through all their tickets. You can also offload some of that work to our teams to help out with as well.
Yep, exactly. A couple of other things down at the bottom. Scandabim, we're going to spend some time on training and education. You know, that's another thing that, particularly again in light of the environment we're in, we haven't done a ton of face-to-face trainings where we used to go out and, you know, train an entire company organization or have them come into our office. We've got training rooms, of course, in many of our locations. That's definitely wound down a bit, but we still are doing a lot of training, either, you know, remotely and sometimes with groups that are disparate, that are in different areas and locations. And in the past, that would entail oftentimes traveling to a training facility and all that. And that was sometimes a barrier to getting the proper training needed. And so what we found is a lot of folks are really opening up to that, and with the ability to dial in and interact with a trainer, that's been working really well. And again, all of it now is really customized. I mean, we do have some clients that they want either an entry-level Revit class or intermediate or advanced Revit class, and obviously we can do that, but they're all really custom. We really just want to look at and to see what our clients are needing, and then we'll tailor the course and curriculum accordingly.
Yeah, I think one thing, you know, to tie out here is the ability to combine consulting with implementation, with training and education creates a really, really powerful solution for your team. We're going to actually help create kind of custom, here's how your organization does things, so that as new employees are onboarded, you're not having to kind of continuously recreate the wheel in terms of how those people are brought up to speed. You can repurpose the content we put together and the tools that we prepare to get your team up to speed a little bit more quickly as well.
Yeah, exactly. And just to expand on that, oftentimes what we'll do is come alongside you on a project, right? So it's kind of a 2-for-1. We'll come alongside, help train and develop maybe some content or some standards or templates, and those are yours, right? That's specific to your needs and the project needs. And then we'll help you with the actual modeling or whatever it is that you need help with. And so not only are you getting nice standards and templates and whatnot and that process down, but we're also helping help you, you know, alongside you, stay alongside you to do that work as well. All right. Yeah, you know, we've talked about all this focus and specialization really around the AC industry. Scale and coverage is one thing that I want to talk about, and we'll talk about that when we get a little bit more into how we do what we're talking about, and that's really the ability to scale, which is so hard. Gosh, almost in any market, but particularly in this market, really hard. So we'll definitely touch on that in a few slides. And then commitment. I mean, we really are committed and we care. You know, we really want to do what's right and what is needed, and that's it. It's focused. It's really focused on the needs that you have right now.
And
so
if you want to take a break here and go be a little bit interactive here, it looks like we do have a first question. And so it was, if US CAD personnel comes into our office, would they be bringing their own laptop for demos, workflow, efficiency, and training, etc.?
Oh, absolutely. They would be bringing their own laptop. We can even supply laptops for your team to utilize as well. If you guys are a desktop-based organization, we can actually bring in and supply laptops with the appropriate software on those devices as well. And that way your team can kind of sit in an interactive training environment. Our team will lead the session with our device, and they can kind of follow along, click the same buttons, and kind of do all of that in a far more kind of interactive approach.
Yeah, thanks, Nick. Absolutely, and we do that. We do that a lot, and oftentimes our clients prefer that. Like Nick just said, then they can come in. They don't have to worry about bringing equipment. We've got all the software ready to go. Obviously, we sanitize all of our equipment after every session. So yes, absolutely. Either way, we can accommodate that. And I think we typically like to keep classes to around 10 at a max. You know, oftentimes we do have some situations where it'll be a little bit more than that, but 10 seems to be that magical number where more than that, it becomes challenging. But, you know, otherwise we break them in multiple groups if we need to, and we can do multiple sessions. But thank you for asking a question. I love it. Any more, please bring them on. That's what we're here for. Thanks, Brian, for picking that up. All right, so services specific for you all, for architects and engineers. Well, I'll just roll these all out here. The two main ones are, well, the main one is production, really. I think that's by far what we do most, where we will come in and help, whether it's with, you know, in content. I kind of lump those together because it is a production function, right, to build content, and we have multiple ways of doing that. Some actually automated, which we're going to be rolling out a little more formally here. But we've helped many companies with content specifically. National healthcare provider. We've done thousands of items for. One of the biggest online retailers. We've done a lot of content, again, thousands of modules for. So that's something that we do quite often, because as I mentioned earlier, that is oftentimes a barrier of entry, right? And when you are a mature company and you've been around for a while and you've been building that content over years and years and years, it becomes daunting to try to get that into, in this case, those two examples, Revit. Right, and so that's something that we do very well and very often, and anywhere from these, you know, those are two large examples, but we do it for small companies as well, just the same, and probably have more of the small to medium-sized businesses. But really, content is tricky because you want it to give you the information you need and not much more, right? We've got clients that come to us, building product manufacturers, all the time. Their content is so heavy because they want it to look beautiful. They want it to look great, and that's good. But when you multiply that in your model, it becomes extremely difficult to manage, as most of you probably know. So finding that balance between a graphical, pleasing looking item and then an intelligent item that's not so heavy is sometimes tricky.
Yeah, and in that vein, we do consult with a lot of building product manufacturers to try to help them, design and develop more Revit-friendly content as well. So, that's definitely something we're seeing a trend on, is that they're trying to be better at developing content that works, because getting that huge Revit that huge inventor file and trying to manage it, they realize is probably not creating any friends on the architecture side when they're trying to populate those in those models.
Yeah, real life example. Yeah, some of the other things for production, as you can see here, probably the other most common thing we do is, well, in the same light, CAD to Revit. So we're taking a lot of CAD content and building that in Revit for a multitude of reasons. One, it might have been designed in CAD and the project never got started. Now it's back alive, as my young kids used to say when they were young, back alive. And so we will take that CAD model and build it in Revit. Other times we have no starting point, maybe for a renovation or tenant improvement, and so we need to get that as-built model completed, and we're going to spend some time on scan to BIM, because that also is a big part of what we're doing. well, we've always done, but recently really that's exploded, and we're getting requests all the time now to actually scan an existing facility, site, building, whatever it might be, and build it into Revit for the two main purposes. One, for renovation, so you have that starting model, and oftentimes for facilities management, where that might not be an immediate need, but the owner sees that as a value, and so let's address it now as we're getting this as built, so we don't have to go through the headache of doing it later, which oftentimes never happens anyway.
Yeah, and then one item not listed here that I think we're starting to see a huge uptick in is how Dynamo can be used with Revit content. So we're really starting to get a lot more exploratory conversations where it's like, hey, I've got this generative design issue. Can you help me with, creating a Dynamo script that solves that problem for me? Or, hey, we do this process over and over again. How can we implement a Dynamo script or workflow, or maybe even combine some Python in there if it's complicated? How do we utilize all that to kind of make our day-to-day tasks easier? And we're finding, there's hundreds of hours to be saved potentially with some simple scripts that kind of automate these everyday routines. And so I think that's an area maybe that's not on the slide here that we're really starting to see an uptick here, especially in the latter half of this year, I think.
Yeah, no, good point, Nick. And again, that oftentimes is discovered when we look over your shoulder, when we see what you're doing, and we can see repetitive tasks and automate those tasks. Oftentimes our clients don't know that that's even possible. So automation is huge, and it's all about efficiency. It's all about giving you the ability to do more and to achieve more. I keep saying that, but it's true. That's the goal, and we can only do that by engaging and having that discussion and seeing what you all do, so we can figure out how we can make things more efficient. And visualizations, we'll spend a little bit of time on that as well. So between and production, I was saying one of the main areas there is helping you get to your 100% CD set. So oftentimes our clients will engage us, early DD. We have a client right now, they're at 90% schematic, well, 95% schematic, and we're jumping in early and helping them with their production all the way through 100% CD set. They're a real estate property manager, developer, and owner, and have a small in-house design team, and they are trying to scale. They need to do more, and so by helping them with this process of going from schematic to 100% CD set, they can do a lot more and focus on that design, on the higher level functions that they want to do. And in the past, they either were bottlenecked or would have to resort to hiring a full-time architect. But we have architectural firms that are in the same kind of boat, where they just need production assistance. They need somebody to help with the details, help with that drafting, help with the title blocks, all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of really big right now. Between that and Scan to BIM, I think those are the two big areas.
Yeah, and I just talked to a client yesterday who said, for the last year and a half, I've been able to manage that between my offices, kind of load balancing between teams. But we're kind of at the point where every team is like right on the verge of holy cow, what are we going to do here? So obviously kind of proactively having some resources aligned was their approach and what they were thinking. But, to your point, I think it's an industry trend here that we're seeing, that kind of everybody is kind of reaching the end of their bandwidth. And it's like, how do we take some of this and create a pressure relief valve for ourselves?
And for a lot of people on the call, it may seem like a daunting task to basically bring a new person on their team and have them get going. But, at US CAD, we have so much industry experience here of professionals and stamped architects and engineers that they have enough experience where they can jump online, they can understand your standards, they can understand your documentation, and they can, start working with your team almost immediately after that brief presentation of how they understand how you work. So it's not going to be a 1, 2, 3 week onboarding. They'll be able to join your team and start producing for you.
Yeah, to that point, we've used lots of firms. We've done lots of outsourcing ourselves, and we've experienced some of that pain of, well, they knew how to model, but that didn't really mean that functionally we got something that was usable. So, we really pride ourselves in fitting into a category of having team members that understand, modern construction, modern design, and can really jump in and to Bryan's point, be up to speed quickly because they're very familiar with the typical processes used in common architecture.
Yeah, all great points. And Bryan, two things. One that Bryan mentioned is that experience. And we really try our best to bring people in from industry, like Bryan. You know, he was the BIM manager for an international firm, huge, and like he said, has over 200 projects under his belt. So we really value that experience, and that really shows in what we do and how we do it. You know, you could be textbook savvy and smart, and that's fine, and we need that too, but it's the real world experience that really makes a difference, and I can't stress that enough. And then the vast amount of projects that we see here as a service provider just exponentially expands that experience. So it really just builds on itself. And again, as you all know, every job is a little different, and we add that experience in our CAP as we go. So very, very important. Okay, let's move along. I'm gonna skip this one. This, again, services for owners, very similar, but I'm gonna move on because we got about, what, 15 minutes here. We'll get into some sample deliverables and you know what we're talking about. So again, obviously model creation, that typically involves most of what we do, and we still do work in CAD. You know, we're not going to say, oh, all we do is Revit. No, we got clients in CAD and they want to continue in CAD. No problem, we can provide CAD just the same. So I don't want to make you think we don't provide those services, because we do. Most of our folks made that migration. Our employees made that migration from CAD to Revit themselves firsthand, so they can always help with that CAD. And we're blessed to have some heavy hitters in that area. One being Katie King. She is just phenomenal in the CAD space. She's been an Autodesk University instructor for, gosh, 10, 13 years, rated #1 trainer multiple years in a row. So we're super blessed to have her on our team, and she's super busy, right? And that's CAD. Her main specialty is CAD. And we talked again, getting to the content, you know, helping you get to construction documents, and then detailed development as well. So a little bit about our teams. I mentioned a little bit earlier that we've got really 3 dedicated teams: our main team in Hawaii, and then our team in Salt Lake, really focused on MEP and higher level modeling, and then our partner in Argentina, over 180 now, and we've been blessed to work with them since they were, gosh, 6 people, and grow together to about 180. So it's been really exciting. And we talked about scaling, and this is how we do that. When we first joined with Pacific CAD in Hawaii, they were very busy, right? And did most of their work right in Hawaii, and that's fantastic. But we really wanted to capitalize on that business and consulting and bring that over to the mainland, and that's what we did. And it takes time, and it takes people, and it takes partners. As Nick said earlier, that was the second point I wanted to talk about, was scaling and partnering. And we are not, we readily admit we don't have everything. We can't do everything, but through partners we can do a lot. And we have a lot of strategic partnerships that help us and allow us to scale when we can't. The last thing we want to do is have a client call us and, oh, sorry, we're tapped out. We can't do that. So by building these partnerships and relationships and vetting them and developing process together, that's how we do that. And yeah, we've worked with a lot. We've worked with a lot of partners, had mixed results. We've learned a lot. I mean, going back 15 years, I've been working with partners, and sometimes it's painful, and we know that because we did it. And through the years, we've really fine-tuned what we need and how to get that, and developing that process with our partners is essential. So real quick, standard workflow, right? Nothing real new, but we take this seriously, and we really try to adhere to this as much as possible, from the smallest of jobs to the largest of jobs. Just really understanding the need first and foremost, scoping, helping understand what that need is and how that equates to a tangible deliverable, what that is. Now, I mean, we've got a project right now where we engaged with an electrical subcontractor, and obviously not in the architectural space, but the point is they didn't quite know what they needed. So when we talked about before staff augmentation, so that's what we're kind of doing. We're dropping in a person that's going to be dedicated to this project, and they have so many things that they need. We have a person that's very versed and can do a lot of different things. So it's a time and material, and we're just going to go and run. They need help today. So it's really exciting when we can do that, and we have people that have so many skills that they can take on whatever it is in this particular case that the client needs. So then working through the workflow, having that kickoff meeting, communication back and forth, and final QA, QC, and delivery. And obviously there's that part at the bottom, lessons learned, so important to review and improve. We're not perfect, we're human. By default, we're not perfect. So learning and taking that feedback and doing something about it is key. And that's how we manage throughout the projects. Okay, with that, let's and I'll turn this over to you, Nick, if you want to talk a little bit about laser scanning to scan to BIM, and I'll kind of drive the slides if you want.
Yeah, absolutely. So, USCAD, we're very fortunate here because we have the opportunity to partner with our clients and actually teach them how to go out into the field and use the laser scanning technology to capture existing conditions. We also offer that as a service, so we can actually go on site on your behalf, do the existing conditions capture, and do all the modeling subsequent to that. So really, it's kind of the perfect balance for us. It allows you to leverage all of the technology that's available and kind of pick and choose the approach that makes sense for your organization based on kind of where you're at currently. We do feature the Leica units, both internally from a sales perspective as well as internally from a production perspective. So pretty much everything we're doing is with top of the line scanners, and you're really going to find that the quality of the point cloud data from a terrestrial scan is pretty much unparalleled. We work with lots of clients who have used the Matterport solution, and from a photo perspective, it's beautiful. From a point cloud perspective, it's a little messy. The ability to actually model from laser scan data on the RTC, I think, is really something that kind of sets us apart in terms of the quality of the deliverable there. So as Darren clicks through the slides, oh, go ahead, Darren, did you want to chime in?
Yeah, thanks. And I just saw the question here. Thank you. It says working with USCAD has been fantastic. Yay. Augmenting our scan to BIM capabilities allowed us to take on projects we could not have otherwise. Absolutely. Thank you so much for that feedback. And that's what we're saying, and so it's great to see that it's true, right? That's what we try to do. So thank you for that feedback. And the other thing I wanted to mention was we're going to dive into this particular topic a little bit more on November 16th. We have an upcoming webinar. I think that's the tentative date. 4 reasons why a scan to BIM strategy is essential and how to achieve one. So we'll follow up after this webinar with a link to that one, and we'll get in a little bit deeper into the strategy component. So sorry, Nick, I'll let you continue there.
All good. I think I'm on that one as well, so that'll be a fun conversation. So we do have a sample of some point cloud data here and the models that we've generated from it. This is a really cool project. It's an old auditorium. The piece that I kind of want to highlight with you is, what we scan, what we model is kind of the really kind of crucial part of this, and that's what we do up front, right? When we identify the scope, we're going to sit with you and say, do you need the site? Do you need the exterior? Is there above ceiling space? Is there plenum? What do we need to capture? And then what elements out of that capture do we need to model? And that's on a project by project basis. Some of the organizations we work with scan with us so frequently that they actually have predefined standards. And when they send us a project request, we know exactly what they want. That's absolutely something we can work with your org to help define. But as Darren kind of clicks through here, you'll see that we kind of took this point cloud data, and what we did is, again, Revit modeling over the top of it to capture all of the existing conditions and produce a fully vetted Revit model that's functional for the team to use in the design phase of the project. So, too often we're finding that, unfortunately, we're still relying on field measurements and walking on site and tape measuring it out. This obviously gives us a way better understanding, especially when you're in older buildings like this. What is the actual existing condition? How far off is that wall from where it was supposed to be in the original design? How much are the pipes sagging in the building? You know, how far has the architectural detail been developed since the original design? All of those elements that we can capture in this existing conditions capture is so powerful. And then the ability, obviously, to take this and model out the elements that matter to you. In this scenario, they wanted a fully functional understanding of every element in the auditorium so that they could begin the design process with all of the existing conditions. But again, if that you don't need the chairs, if you don't need the lights, we can kind of dictate that on a project by project basis. And for those clients that are still working in 2D, we can take that content from the 3D output and give you the 2D content back. And it's still really important to understand this is going to be highly, far more accurate down to the millimeters in variance in terms of what you're getting from an output perspective. So the ability to understand that, hey, you know, that floor shifts over about a 1/4 inch from floor to floor because the drywall was not put up in the exact same place, or you know, the stairwell connecting it is straight but the outside exterior is not. All those pieces can be captured and detailed and documented so that you have a far better understanding of the space. And again, if we're giving that back to you in 2D content, it's still far more useful than maybe trying to scan in the old blueprints and then piece together what's happened in that space since the last time that's been updated.
Yeah, good. Thanks, Nick. And I know we're coming close to the end of our presentation, so we'll kind of whip through the rest real quickly. Let's see. Yeah. So renderings, and I mean, I'm not going to spend too much time. I think everybody is familiar with renderings. One thing I do want to show is really exciting, and that is what we call a 3D 360-degree tour. And can you all see that? Yeah, so this is a project we did in Houston, Texas, and this was the penthouse suite. It was white box, so it was all empty, and they had tenants that really wanted to see what it could look like, you know, as an office environment. And so we came in and created this rendering. We can actually turn on, you know, Google Maps, and so you can see exactly what direction you're facing, which is kind of nice. We also took photographs from the roof of the skyline. So this is the literal view from these windows that you would see in this building. The other thing that we did was create several layouts. So we could quickly click on one of these and see how it would change and how that affected the overall look and feel, and that changes throughout the whole floor. So we could go to another location and have that same theme and now look around and see how that might look. So really engaging and helping the design team understand how it's going to look, and then more so the owner exactly what it could potentially look like.
Hey, Darren, we have a question from the field here. It says, what examples of value adds have you done for AutoCAD and Bluebeam?
Value adds. Yeah, well, for I mean, efficiency, number one, right? And learning and understanding the applications, particularly with CAD. I mean, I equate it to Excel. We all use Excel, right? We use like 10%, 5% of what Excel can do. It's very similar with AutoCAD and Bluebeam. You know, there's so much that these programs can do that we need to understand how you're using it today and your process, so we can find those efficiencies and help you either with, you know, just learning the application to a fuller extent, and there might be a certain aspect of the program that you're not utilizing that we can help you with, or automation like we discussed before, creating scripts and things like that. Bluebeam, yeah, there's a lot to Bluebeam that it can do, and we have a whole, in fact, a separate department, a separate team within USCAD that handles that, and they're fantastic. Being the largest reseller comes with requirements, and one of those requirements is having technical staff to support it. And so, you know, oh, we're the biggest, right? Well, what does that mean? Yeah, we've got technical staff to help, and we've learned that really helps scaling and getting our clients the resources that they need. So I don't know if either you all have more comments on that around value add. That's, you know, there's a lot there that we can help with.
Yeah, again, I think it comes back to that consulting approach. We dive in with you and see kind of how you do things today, where the pain points are, and then solve for problems or solutions, whether that's development, whether it's workflow improvements. It's really about kind of identifying the individual needs and how we address that. But, to answer that question, we've developed tools, we've created implementation workflows so that people get up and running faster. We've simply developed workflow efficiency training where it's like, hey, here's a way to do that thing that you do 100 times faster every day. So I think the answer is yes, we absolutely can do that.
Yep, good. Okay, and in the follow-up to this, there'll be a contact us link. So please, if you have more questions, we'd love to talk to you offline, one-on-one. We love that. That's what we're here for. We're here to help, and we really enjoy engaging and working with each of you individually. So yeah, I know we're a couple minutes over. Hopefully you all can hold on. We do that kind of on the 45, right? 11 to 11:45, just in case we need to go over. And I know many of you might have meetings at the top of the hour. HoloLens, this is really becoming more prominent in a couple of areas. One is understanding of the design on the architectural side. We did a lot of work for JPL up in Pasadena, where we did scan to BIM, created Revit models for four of their main buildings, and one of the main purpose was for renovation. The other was for visualization. They wanted to see how updated design to maximize the space that they had available, and we actually loaded the model here, and they could walk around the existing floors and see where the new design would fit in. Actually have one here on my desk, but basically that's one of the main purposes. The other is on the construction side to verify installation and making sure that things are being installed per the dedicated BIM model and agreed upon BIM model. Some of our clients here, and we usually like to wrap up with some stories, and I know we've talked a lot of about that throughout this presentation. So we've done a little bit of that. I don't know if there's any case studies or projects that Nick, you or Brian want to mention real quick that we haven't already.
I think we touched on most of the major ones that I wanted to. I think holistically, we're finding laser scanning to be the biggest kind of value add that we see in the client production space. And we've got a bunch of architects that we've worked with to kind of help them understand where the value comes from on their side and how to articulate that to the owners. So, that's a conversation we'd love to have with clients and help you guys get better at, so you can add that as a value add in your proposals and, potentially make your life easier downstream.
Yeah, and I would just add that, I'm the newer guy here at USCAD. I was recently a USCAD customer just 2 months ago. So I encourage everybody on this line, if you've got something like a scan to BIM service where you're utilizing somebody else, I encourage you to reach out to us and let us work on that project for you. We've developed an incredible integration utilizing things like the Autodesk Construction Cloud and BIM 360, and it really allows you to be as hands-on as you want to be. If you want to see what the scan to BIM service is becoming as far as the 3D model, you can actually see that in your environment that you invite us to, of course, and you can start to be hands-on. You can start asking questions in real time, or you can go the other route, right? You can just say, hey, I just need this delivered, give me my 3D file, or just give me my 2D, floor plans and elevations. So that's a really unique service that we have, and like I said, we've really streamlined that workflow. So I encourage everyone to reach out to us at any point so we can talk about that type of solution.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Brian. That's good. It's fun when we able to have folks like Brian join us that again, we're in the field, but we're customers of ours and can give us that feedback and just the information that was gathered that we were able to work together on many projects. So it's super fun. Well, are there any questions, comments, anything else from from you all on the line here. Again, we are a little bit over, but if you have any questions, feel free to pop them in right now and we'll address them. Otherwise, like I said, we will send out a follow-up. And if you have any other questions for us specifically, please reach out, don't hesitate. We really enjoy the dialogue and discourse, and this is how we learn and add to our collective knowledge. So it's critical. You know, you all are a critical component to what we do in many ways, and we appreciate your time and involvement. And I will try to stall another few seconds if there's any other questions. All right. I don't see anything coming in. What's that?
We've done it.
We've done it. All right. Well, thank you all again very much. We appreciate your time. We know how precious and valuable it is. And we thank you for joining us here. Again, if you have any other questions, feel free to reach out directly. And we look forward to talking to you all later. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody.
All right. Thank you.